Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today because the defendant, Brooke Richardson, murdered a baby that she didn't want and never intended to keep. She continued to lie and conceal this pregnancy because no one was ever going to find out about the truth of her pregnancy. She didn't start prenatal care. She didn't look at baby clothes, cribs, diapers, bottles. And she didn't research how to give her child up for adoption. She did nothing.
Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kim Coley, and on my channel I make true crime videos. If that's something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing below if you like the video. This case is about a young girl who hides her pregnancy from her parents and ends up burying her baby in her own backyard. Brooke Skylar Richardson was born on March 9th, 1999 in Carlisle, Ohio. Although her first name was Brooke, she went by her middle name, Skyler, so I will refer to her as Skyler throughout this video. Carlisle, Ohio is a pretty small town with less than 5,000 people living there. It's a very close-knit community, and most people that grow up there never end up leaving. Skyler was born into a very affluent family. They lived in a nice home, and she had a pretty good childhood. Brooke's parents were Kim and Scott Richardson, and she had a brother named Jackson. Brooke was an honor student, and she also was a cheerleader. She had been a cheerleader for many, many years, and it was something that she loved and really enjoyed. Skylar's parents described her as being happy-go-lucky. She was also described as being a peacemaker, but she did have an internal struggle with her weight, and she struggled with an eating disorder. Skylar was very self-conscious about her body, so she counted every single calorie that she consumed. Her mother even said that there was a time where she wouldn't even get a pack of gum because she said it had too many calories and there were only 5 calories in it. So this young woman was battling with anorexia, and this had been going on for many, many years.
Her eating disorder defines her.
We had taken her to several different places. We tried several different things. It was extremely frustrating.
She did not develop at all, mentally or physically. She stayed frozen in that 12-year-old body.
Even though Skylar was silently suffering from this eating disorder, she was somehow still able to maintain her friendships. She also had boyfriends. She was able to still participate in cheerleading through all of this. So many people did not know what she had been going through. So later on, Skylar ends up getting a boyfriend, and the two are becoming more close. And Skylar's mother finds out that her daughter is sexually active. So her mother takes her to the gynecologist and has Skylar be put on birth control.
In the spring, I noticed that they were getting very close, and that's when I had encouraged her to get on the pill. That's when I made her appointment for her to go to the doctor. I went with her. I sat in the lobby. She went back by herself.
So this is where the case takes a drastic turn when Skylar discovers that she is pregnant. So on that same trip to the doctor's office where she was supposed to be getting put on birth control, her mother waits outside of the doctor's office. And of course, before you are to be put on birth control, you have to take a pregnancy test first to ensure that you're not already pregnant. So when Skylar takes this pregnancy test, it is determined that she was pregnant. And at this point, she was between 7 and 8 months pregnant. So after Skylar finds out that she is actually pregnant, she is crying, she's distraught, And she's very upset because she doesn't want to get in trouble by her parents. So keep in mind, her mother had no idea what was going on because she was not in the actual room with Skyler. So Skyler's mother said that when Skyler came back out to the car, she could tell that Skyler had been crying and was upset about something, but she just figured that it was because, everything was new to her and that, this was the first time that she had to be on birth control. So as I said before, Skyler was about 8 months pregnant at the time of the office visit. So pregnancy can be very different for different women. I don't know if you guys ever saw a show that used to come on TLC. It was called, what was that show called? I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant. I used to watch that show years ago, and there were many women on that show whom they interviewed, and they went the full 9 months of pregnancy and had no idea that they had been pregnant. Now, pregnancy is different for every single woman. No pregnancy is the same. Some women get really big when they get pregnant. Some women don't get very big at all. And some women, their stomachs, don't grow at all. Some women have reported that, they even got their menstrual cycle for their entire pregnancy. Other women on that show reported that their stomach had not even grown. So after Skyler finds out that she's pregnant, she doesn't tell a soul. She definitely doesn't tell her family, and she doesn't even tell the father of the child. At this point, Skyler said that the two had split up way before she even found out she was pregnant, and that they were not on good terms. In fact, Skyler was actually dating another boy for most of her pregnancy. So this new boyfriend, his name is Brandon, and Skyler and him are preparing to go to the prom soon after that doctor's visit. So he has no idea that she's pregnant, and her stomach did grow a little bit, but everybody had just thought that she was just putting on a few extra pounds. So on May 6th, 2017, Skyler and her boyfriend both go to prom together, and this is when Skyler first begins to go into labor.
Prom night is a disaster.
It's supposed to be the perfect night, but she's having major cramping, and she's even mentioned it to Brandon that she has the worst cramps she's ever had.
So the very next day after the prom, Skyler gives birth to her daughter, who she names Annabelle. So Skyler gives birth in her bathroom. She didn't tell her parents because she was afraid of what they would think of her, that they would be disappointed and very upset that she had gotten pregnant at the age of 17. So Skyler says that, she went into a state of shock, and, she said her baby had come out as a stillborn. So her plan was to bury her baby and give it what she called a funeral.
She says she delivers it in the bathroom on the toilet.
I mean, I still can't believe that none of us woke up.
She says the umbilical cord is not attached, the baby is not breathing, it doesn't have a heartbeat.
I have no doubt it was a stillborn. There's no way that we wouldn't have heard or the dogs wouldn't have reacted or something.
So she goes to the garage and she gets a shovel out, and then she takes the baby outside. She digs up a grave and she buries her own baby.
It was very, very hard knowing that she had her own private funeral for Annabelle in the backyard.
So if I could just insert myself here, I understand the whole being afraid to tell your parents that you're pregnant thing. She's young. She, had dreams and goals of going to college and being a lawyer and all these things. She came from a really good family. She didn't want her parents to be disappointed in her, but for her to physically plan this whole thing out and bury her baby in her own backyard, that part doesn't sit well with me. Just imagine somebody literally doing that. This isn't a movie, this isn't a TV show. This is a real life person who thought it would be a good idea to do this. It's just scary to think about, you know, will she ever have a child again in the future? Is this something that, you know, just a disregard for human life, basically. So after Skyler commits this horrible act by burying her own baby the previous night, she takes a picture of herself, of her stomach specifically, and she sends it to her mother.
Much later that day, Skyler sends a text and a photo to her mother from the gym. "My belly is back." And to her boyfriend, Brandon, saying she's so happy, without explaining why.
And she tells no one, not her mom, not her brother, who's her best friend, not any of her girlfriends, certainly not her father. Nobody knows about this.
For a mother to have supposedly had a stillborn and lost their child, you would think that any human being would be mourning the loss of their child. They would be very upset, very sad, and going through, you know, a host of different emotions. But instead, she's more concerned with how her body looks now that she doesn't have to carry this baby around. So about 2 months go by and Skyler goes back to the same doctor to get more birth control pills. So when she's there, the doctor asks her, you know, hey, did you have the baby? What happened? And Skyler ends up telling the doctor that she had delivered a stillborn and that she had buried the baby in her backyard and that she had told no one about it. The authorities were alerted after Skyler's doctor's visit, and they began an investigation into the matter. So police immediately begin their investigation. They call Skyler in for questioning. So during the interview with the police, Skyler told them that she had delivered a stillborn and that she ended up burying her baby in the backyard.
There's no way other than just to come out and say, okay, we got a call from the doctor's office.
Now Skyler knows her secret is out.
My parents are going to kill me. I didn't want to tell them. I didn't want to tell them at all. I still don't really want to tell them, but now they're going to know.
Without prompting, she says she did not harm her baby, something she will repeat more than a dozen times.
I didn't kill the doe.
Oh, we're not saying anything like that. That's not why you're here today. We're not saying that. Did you say her? Okay, it was a girl. What do you do then?
I stayed there with her for a little bit. I tried to see if maybe she'd wake up, but I had to bury her, and I think am I going to be in trouble for that? I know it wasn't
For
right.
trying to see if she could
Breathe, and I had to bury her.
Why do you decide you have to bury her?
I couldn't tell anybody.
Because you hadn't told anybody and you still didn't want to tell
It was
anybody?
really bad. I loved
No,
her. I didn't mean any harm to her.
it's not for us to say.
Are you going to put me in jail because of that?
No, I'm not. That's not why I'm here today, to try to put you in jail. We're still just trying to find out what happened, okay? Did you know where you would bury her?
I just wanted to bury her in my backyard so we could put flowers on her.
Okay.
So looking at the video footage from the interview, it was kind of hard to tell whether or not Skyler was crying because she had been remorseful, you know, about what she had done and that she had kept everything a secret and that she had lost the baby, or whether or not she was sad and crying because she knew that she may be going to prison because of this. So police go to the Richardson's home to dig up the remains of the baby, because at this point they have to determine whether or not the baby was alive or deceased at the time of birth, because that would tell them whether or not there was any wrongdoing in this case and if Skyler had been responsible for the death of her baby. So Skyler is asked to come in for a second interview after the baby's remains have been dug up. Now, this time, the autopsy report has come back, and the medical examiner reported that the remains had been burned.
And the county coroner reports to the detectives that a forensic anthropologist observed charring on Annabelle's bones, suggesting a more sinister motive.
I said, how certain is she? He said, she is absolutely and 100% certain that these bones were burned.
So during the second interview, police asked her flat out, did you burn your baby? So in the beginning, she says, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then all of a sudden, she flips her story and she says that, you know, maybe she had burned her baby.
Tell me about the fire.
What fire?
It seemed to be a genuinely surprised reaction when we asked about the fire.
There's some evidence to show that there was some burning on her.
Didn't burn her. I promise on anything I didn't burn her. My dad has lots of bonfires, but I didn't burn her.
There was some charring and stuff on some of her bones, so.
I didn't burn her.
The doctors know that there was fire of some sort or some.
So I wonder if maybe it just was one of those things where you just thought, well, maybe I can do this, and because I think like a cremation, like I'm gonna have some ashes that I can keep of my daughter and keep them.
At one point, Skyler finally said, I think I might have tried to cremate her a little bit.
Where'd you put her?
She also changes her story to say that maybe her baby had not been born, a stillborn, that she may or may not have heard crying, and that she may or may not have heard the baby making a gurgling noise, but that she was so distraught, she was scared, it was late, you know, she was in pain, and that she can't quite remember exactly what happened.
And under questioning, Skyler is about to admit something she had repeatedly denied before, that the baby was born alive.
If you knew I didn't get the truth, and you still had to carry that weight with you.
I'm so sorry.
Is it possible that she maybe breathed a little bit, like maybe, you know, before?
Maybe.
Okay. What do you do with her?
I put her in the towel.
Okay. Okay. Do you feel like she was breathing when you were holding her and you held her too tight? Okay. I know. It's okay. It's okay. You can't. It's okay. You were trying.
I think I'm going to kill her.
Okay. Okay.
When she just interjects out of the blue, I think I might have killed her, I squeezed her too tight. Detective Carter and I were a little bit taken back by that because we hadn't asked her that, but she just offered that up on her own. What's going through my head right at that moment is that she admitted to killing her baby.
And the detectives seek to leave no room for doubt.
I fought so hard. I did like not so hard, but just like I just want her to go.
Maybe that's when she died?
Maybe.
It seemed now like I was speaking with someone who had done the crime that we were there for and was guilty and knew they were guilty. So now I know I'm going to ask questions about signs of life.
Did you hear anything like little gurgle sounds? You know, like they'll kind of make a gurgle sound.
I asked about gurgling, which was a word I introduced. Skyler had not used that word herself.
But it soon became Skyler's word.
She let out a noise.
Made a noise. What kind of noise?
Maybe a little noise, a gurgle, but I didn't know if it was something else. Like, and then I didn't hear another one.
So how you know the baby was alive just a little bit, the Annabelle was alive a little bit.
I saw her arm maybe a little bit moving on.
They had what they needed.
Skyler had admitted to maybe accidentally killing her baby. I know at this point there's going to be an arrest that day.
So what's crazy about this is that the medical examiner came back and said she could not say for sure if the baby's bones had actually been burned or not. So she took back what she had previously stated.
There was only one problem with this tearful confession of a burning baby, as detectives would later learn.
During the time in between the arrest and this trial, Dr. Murray recanted her initial observation. She no longer saw burning.
So anybody that knows anything about true crime knows that people confess to crimes that they did not commit all the time. You know, when you're being interrogated for hours and hours and hours and hours, and sometimes days upon days. You know, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Over and over again. Psychologically, you know, your brain wants to stop the questioning, you know, to move on, to get a break from it all. So you end up confessing to something that you did not commit. Now, this could have certainly been the case in Skylar's case. You know, she did come in there the first time and say that she was not responsible for her child's death, that she was a stillborn. It wasn't until she was questioned and that she was accused of burning her baby that she changed her own story. I've seen many cases where people have confessed to crimes that they did not commit. Skyler was charged with aggravated murder, child endangerment, and involuntary manslaughter, but she was only found guilty of serious mistreatment of a corpse.
That if you would have made different decisions in this case, Annabelle would be here today. And I know that might be difficult for you to hear, but I think that your choices before birth, during birth, and after show a grotesque disregard for life.
But after the harsh lecture, a light sentence,
I'm going to place you on 3 years of basic supervision, which means that you are going to be going home today.
She was given 3 years of probation, which ended after only 14 months because she had no prior record and was not seen as a threat to the public. But you have to wonder, you know, is she capable of something like this in the future? So it's a lot to think about. Let me go ahead and end the video. I still don't know exactly how I feel about it. It was actually really hard for me to do this case because it's about a baby. And I'm like going through baby fever right now. So I'm like all over the place. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this case down below in the comments. And I will see you guys next week in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.